These are the kinds of questions I cover on the YouTube channel too, because there's a lot of questions around intuition, and you just nailed it right on the head. One of the biggest ones, which is this my imagination or is this my intuition? Did I make this up? And I wish I had like the most wonderful answer, but I have a very true answer, which is if you have a lot of intent and personal desire around the topic, your intuition is going to be harder to access because that intent is going to create the imagination. It's going to get the imagination sparked. So it's a lot easier to get intuitive information on something that you don't have a desired outcome on. Gotcha. Which is a kicker, isn't it? Because that's what we want the information on. But when you're learning how to use it, learning how to feel it, learning how to know, okay, no, this really, I can tell this was my intuition. I can tell this is my imagination. You really got to start with things that you're a little bit detached from in training until you can get that feeling and learn how to trust yourself before you can dive into your own stuff.
That's, and I would say that comports or aligns with the practice of psychology in a lot of ways. It's like if you are, that's why they say you don't diagnose yourself, you don't diagnose friends, family, relatives. You're too close to the problem. So you need that a little bit of dispassion to say, I don't have a dog in this fight other than the intent is a good resolution, positive. What is it? Carl Rogers, I think the humanist psychologist, he said, the two things you need for effective therapy is genuineness. It's got to be real. Well, whatever it is, bring yourself to the table, and unconditional positive regard. So you're going to get the real me, and you're going to get my goal in the process. Everything we aim towards is let's take a bad situation and make it better. But if you do those two things, you've nailed about 90% of it. And then you got to step back from the problem and not, as I said, not have a dog in the fight too much, or you're going to have a conflict of interest in terms of getting the right answer for that person that's not informed or what am I trying to say? Skewed by your own personal desires.
Exactly. Those personal desires. And I call it the left. So you've got the left brain, right brain, right? And I like to use the analogy that the right brain is like the mail carrier giving you the intuitive message, and the left brain's like the dog trying to bite the mail carrier. So if you are thinking too much, if you're, I wonder, maybe this is it, blah, 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 it's harder to trust that intuition. So when it's solid intuition, it will come out of nowhere. You weren't thinking about it before. Sometimes it doesn't even seem like it fits, and then it, falls into place 2 hours later. So there is kind of a little speckle of odd to it when it comes through as intuition and not necessarily imagination.
For sure. Yeah. And there's, I always say it sounds trite, and it is because it's an old phrase, sleep on it. So in my estimation, like what we're doing in our sleep is our brain never stops spinning the wheels. And that's what dreams are. They're just all the thoughts we maybe would have had in the background in the daytime are now foreground because we don't have conscious intent most of the time. Lucid dreams aside, don't know what to do with those either. But if you sleep on it, often if you're focused on a problem and it's really worrying you and you really need an answer, there's an outcome that's dependent on getting it right, you'll have some kind of experience provided you can remember it. And even if you can't, like I've gone to bed, have no memory of having a dream, and I wake up the next day with a much clearer perspective on the question itself. And now that I can see it completely, like the answer is obvious. And so it sounds like you're describing something very similar in terms of giving it time to percolate, as I say.
Exactly. One of the tools I teach the students is to do nightly evaluations, 5 minutes, 10 minutes before you go to bed. Think through these tasks that you're trying to improve on or heal or work through. Go to bed, let yourself rest, and let your subconscious work on it at night. There's a whole lot of truth to that. And also, I tend to very much trust intuitive messages for myself that come right as I'm falling asleep or right as I'm waking up, because you're kind of out of your own way. You know what I mean? You can't sort of, as in that waking state, you're not really analyzing things yet. That left brain is still a little bit asleep. So
yeah,
those are good times to get messages as well.
For sure. And what's happening, again, in my estimation, I'm the dream wizard. I'm not the only guy you should talk to. There's a broad range of study on this, but from what I'm putting together, it is in that transitional period, falling asleep or waking up, where we're letting go of conscious thought and drifting into sleep. There's a strange phenomenon that goes with that too, is like we remember the moment of waking up, sort of, but it always comes with the feeling that we've been awake for a minute and we're just starting to realize it. When we don't recognize the moment of falling asleep. We never have any memory of that. I remember it was precisely, I was looking at the clock. It was, 12:52 and consciousness faded. So that's, all right, long story short on that one. But the other side of that is that this goes to one of the books that, and this is why I love these books. My own masterclass. I'm reading historical dream literature and republishing, editing, and putting it in a nice new form, highly annotated, footnoted, reference. I go and I look up dates and peoples and massive multi-page indexes and cross-references. Really put a lot of work into these. So, but book number 6, Studies in Dreams. This is from 1921, I believe. 100. So I released the 100th anniversary edition of it. I called it that myself. By Mary Arnold Forster, and she talks about her own experiments with lucid dreams, and she talks about what's called, this all connects, I swear to God, with the borderland state between waking and sleeping, and that connects with a lot of other stuff I've been reading, where it seems like we only remember our dream experiences in those transitional periods. That doesn't mean we're not dreaming the entire night. I think we do, honestly, because what is dreaming other than, in my estimation, again, the thought process that just continues while we're unconscious. But it's as, and again, related to what you were saying, long story short, you're getting these surrender of conscious attention and this kind of abstraction, and the mind wanders on its own in these periods of time. And that's where we get dreams. And that's where we get, I think, exactly what you're describing, these intuitive understandings where suddenly a picture crystallizes. We see something clearly that we couldn't quite get a grip on before.